Now at 6 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, Victoria SWAT team arrests 3 people on firearm and drug charges.
And 3 suspects steal televisions and other property from the Guadalupe school, all caught on video.
Plus, Governor Greg Abbott orders a private company to install the floating barriers to prevent migrants from crossing illegally.
We, of course, had another hot day. Our high was 99 degrees. Gonzales at 104. Is there any change in sight? Probably not. We'll have all that coming up.
And the athlete of the week is a speedster who has traveled all around the U.S. We hear from him and his grandfather in sport.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
This morning at about 6:15, Victoria PD Special Crimes Unit and the VPD SWAT team executed a search and arrest warrant at a residence in the 1900 block of Lawndale Avenue. 2 handguns and illegal drugs were found. 30-year-old Gabriel Harris, 32-year-old Lindsay Lira, and 20-year-old Trayvon Whitby, all convicted felons, were arrested and face firearm and drug charges. The investigation also led to the arrest of 33-year-old Donnell Dilworth on unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon charges.
Victoria County Sheriff's Office investigating a burglary at the former Guadalupe Elementary School at 1952 Guadalupe Road. Wednesday night around 10:20 p.m., 3 suspects entered the building through a window they broke. They stole televisions and other property. Video cameras inside the building captured images of the suspects. Anyone with information is asked to call the Victoria County Sheriff's Office at 361-575-0651, and you can also call Victoria Crime Stoppers at 361-572-4200. Authorities in Jackson County have released the name of a jailer arrested Wednesday. The Jackson County Herald Tribune reports Donald J. Morris, employed as a jailer at the Jackson County Jail for 7 months, is accused of having an improper relationship with an inmate. The Texas Rangers are investigating the case. Morris faces charges of violating the civil rights of a person in custody and improper sexual activity with a person in custody. His bond has been set at $75,000.
Jackson County Sheriff Kelly Jenica released this statement on social media. Quote, "I will continue to hold the men and women that work for you to the highest standards. I will not tolerate any willful criminal conduct by anyone." 25 News Now had requested the arrest warrant and mugshot of Morris. Law enforcement officers say fentanyl is deadly and the issues caused by the drug are going to get worse before it gets better.
25 News Now weekend anchor Adam Seibel joins us in the studio now with a preview of a 25 News Now Extra. Adam.
That's right. So Don and Karina, one of the most dangerous aspects of fentanyl is that it's being added to many popular drugs, oftentimes to unsuspecting users. In many cases, users will buy what they think is a Xanax, Percocet, or Adderall, when it's really a pill that looks like those drugs, but in reality, it's fentanyl in disguise. Those counterfeit pills are extremely hard to tell from fact from fiction, even stumping the experts.
I've been a pharmacist for 40 years and I can't tell the difference. I know that the DEA guys tell me they can't tell the difference. And you know, looking at a tablet, that's a game we play. Is this real or is this fake? It's not, you're not able to tell.
The Texas Department of State Health Services reports that since 2019, fentanyl-related deaths just right here among Texans have increased more than 500%. Fentanyl is cheap to make, so that's why so many drug cartels around the world have turned to fentanyl production. That's why knowledge and understanding of this deadly drug is key. Don, Karina, back to you.
Adam, thank you. Jackson County Sheriff's Office reports 2 attempted vehicle break-ins Wednesday afternoon. The break-ins were in the south part of Edna. The vehicle description, a blue-colored, newer model Nissan small SUV. Authorities say it is believed that this is part of a much bigger set of crime incidents. If you see or have seen a vehicle matching this description or that picture right there, please contact the Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 361-782-3541.
A large pipeline fire can be seen from miles away in Brazoria County Thursday afternoon after after reports of an explosion in that area. Enos, which is a company that owns the site, released a statement to KTRK explaining that the fire was due to a release on a pipeline at a valve site. Officials also said there was no impact on residents or nearby businesses, adding that there was no shelter in place and air monitoring has been deployed.
Rising temperatures may cause a new power demand record for Texas this week. ERCOT's forecast shows it may reach over 84,000 megawatts Thursday. Wednesday, a record was set at more than 81,000 megawatts during the 6 o'clock p.m. hour. ERCOT's dashboard shows we should have enough power supply to meet demand. Hope you're right, ERCOT.
The National Weather Service issues excessive heat warnings for 3 area counties. Warren County under an excessive heat alert until 8 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service says heat index values up to 113 degrees are expected. DeWitt and Lavaca counties under excessive heat warnings until 9 o'clock tonight. The National Weather Service says heat index values there are up to 114 degrees. And with that, let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez, who tells us just stay indoors at this point.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Actually.
Indoors or underwater. It's always a good place to be at this time of the year. It's hot, but it's more hot than normal. That's not your imagination. Right about now, we're at 93 degrees. Our high today did get up to 99. Not a record, but we don't need to set any records. But that's a good 5 degrees above our normal hot average, and it was only 81 as an overnight low. Changes in the temperature, not much. We're going to stay hovering around 100 degrees, but coming up, we're going to be talking about why is it so hot. We'll talk about that in a moment. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. The Texas Department of State Health Services reports 3 cases of skunks infected with rabies in Lavaca County this year. The Lavaca County Today reports county commissioners were told the rabid skunk cases in Victoria County have been spilling over into Lavaca County. Victoria County has reported 10 cases of rabid skunks this year.
In his latest attempt to alleviate the border situation, Texas Governor Greg Abbott is taking a new approach to discourage illegal immigration across the Rio Grande River.
He's ordered a private company to install multi-million-dollar floating barriers to discourage people from trying to swim across.
The Marine Barrier is one of the latest efforts by the state of Texas in securing the border. Previously installed shipping containers along the portions of the Rio Grande, as well as razor wire that DPS officials say are layers of defense. Lieutenant Christopher Olivares with the Texas Department of Public Safety says the buoys should discourage migrants from crossing into the U.S., but says some attempts will be made to cross the river despite the barrier and the dangers that exist.
We do know for a fact that whether it be a migrant or whether it be a smuggling organization in Mexico, they're going to try to find ways to defeat this barrier. So we will have manpower that will be monitoring this barrier. And of course, if there's any damages or anybody does make it across, then they could possibly face some type of state criminal charges.
Once installed, the Marine Barrier would cover about 1,000 feet of the middle of the Rio Grande. They say the buoy system will be netted with anchors that drop down to the riverbed.
Obviously, the buoys will be placed in strategic areas where we've seen the majority of flow, people coming across the river, where some of these areas are very deep, the water is very deep. So we want to prevent those crossings, we want to prevent the drownings.
He says while the number of migrant crossings have dropped, human smuggling operations have increased.
When we come across some of these smuggling situations along the border where drivers from all over, from different parts of Texas, even out of state, are still continuing to get involved in human smuggling and smuggling, migrants further into the interior as well as children.
Nearly 5 million children in 8 states could lose some extra funds for food unless their state officials sign up for a federal relief program by Friday. Texas has not joined the Pandemic Electronic Benefits Transfer Program, or PEBT. It's providing $120 over the summer to families whose kids qualify for free or reduced price meals or attend schools in low-income areas where all students get free meals. And so this is going to bring us to our viewer poll this evening. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, do you rely on food assistance programs over the summer? Yes or no? Well, according to these results, 12% stand at yes and 88% say no. We want to keep on hearing from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10.
A group of college professors suing Texas for banning TikTok. on public university computers and phones. The Washington Post reports the professors say the ban has undermined their ability to teach students and research TikTok. In a lawsuit filed in Austin on Thursday against Governor Abbott and top Texas officials, the professors argued the ban had infringed on their academic freedoms and constitutional rights. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. That's how you can find Crossroads Today on Facebook. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 6. The Pittsburgh synagogue mass shooter could face the death penalty for his hate crimes against the Jewish community.
Also ahead in Corpus Christi, city workers do the impossible and help find 4 missing rings in the trash. Bowers, the mass shooter at the Pittsburgh synagogue, is eligible for the death penalty as determined by the jury today. This shifts the focus of whether he should be sentenced to death or life in prison. Bowers killed 11 worshipers and wounded 6 others at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life synagogue back in 2018. It was the deadliest attack on Jewish people in the United States. The 50-year-old was found guilty in June of all 63 charges against him. 22 of those counts were capital offenses. The next and final stage of the trial begins Monday with opening statements from survivors and loved ones of the victims.
Corpus Christi city employees were able to find a set of rings holding high sentimental value for the person who lost them.
Yeah, after 3 days of digging through the trash, the city employees found all 4 rings.
Imagine losing one of your most prized possessions. This was the case of Emily Dickerson, but the one thing she never lost was hope.
It's irreplaceable. There's no way to replace it. It's one of a kind.
Dickerson's dad passed away when she was very young. The only memory she had left of him was a cremation ring.
But especially this one, this is like what I have. So my dad's with me all the time, no matter what.
Dickerson, visiting from Iowa, was in town on a school trip. Her and her classmates spent part of the day at McGee Beach, when suddenly she realized she had misplaced her ring, along with 3 others that held sentimental value.
And then it kind of like hit me, the realization, like, oh my gosh, I misplaced these. I don't know what I did. And then I realized where I had left them. And I was in like a complete utter panic. I ran to the bathroom, called my mom. I was like, this is the situation. I don't know what to do. I was in tears. I was a mess.
Dickerson's mom, Tina Koch, immediately called the city's Parks and Recs department to try to see if they could possibly find it, and what seemed as something impossible.
I was surprised she even called me, and I answered her question. She wanted a description of the ring, and then she told me she had it. And I had no words. I just instantly started crying.
3 days later, after digging through the trash, Parks and Recs found all 4 rings.
Do you guys ever imagine finding back the ring?
No, I was in complete shock when she told me, to be honest.
Dickerson and her mom say it's inspiring to still find hope in humanity.
They didn't really completely know the story behind the rings either. They just got them knowing $5 ring, $500 ring, you know, like they still went above and beyond to do that.
And Koch says she believes the ring was meant to find its way back to her.
Like finding a needle in a haystack. This is, I'm a true, anybody who believes in a higher power, that Emily definitely had a guardian angel with her that day.
Pretty amazing that they found it in all that trash, but that's a great story. Well, folks, the heat is on, of course, you know that. 99 was our high today. Everybody from along Interstate 35 and west, they were well into the hundreds, and they're going to be well into the hundreds for the next few days. Not a lot of change, but coming up, we're going to be talking about why is it getting so hot? Some people ask me, are there volcanoes? And I said, no, it's not volcanoes. So we'll talk more about that coming up in a moment. Welcome back, everybody. And of course, the heat is the big subject of the day. And Don said, well, it's just summer, right? No, well, I mean, this is not a normal summer. We used to be able to play outside in the summertime, ride bikes, climb trees, all that good stuff. Now, something is happening. And so people are asking, why is the reason for all this? Well, and this is what I studied in college, folks. I mean, I have a geoscience degree, and I've been with the head in the clouds for many, many years. So let's go to it. Now, we have a little piece of gas that covers the Earth, okay? It's called the atmosphere. It runs from the surface of the Earth all the way up to maybe 12, 15 miles up into the atmosphere. That's it. After that, you're in outer space. So whatever we do down here doesn't necessarily fly out into outer space towards Mars. It stays in our atmosphere, remember? Okay, so let's talk about this. Now, what is it that we breathe every day? Well, most of what's in the atmosphere is nitrogen, which is an inert gas. Doesn't do anything, doesn't do much. And then we have a big chunk of oxygen. That's really good because we need it. All the little green things need it to grow, right? And then there's this little bitty piece right here, this purple one, of carbon dioxide. And you say, well, that's such a tiny piece. How can it make a difference? Well, the reason is that, back in the 1800s, they figured out that a molecule of oxygen and a molecule of carbon dioxide, the carbon dioxide will retain heat much longer. So that little sliver of carbon dioxide in the standard atmosphere is what makes the Earth livable. If we didn't have that, we'd be the surface of Mars, 1 billion degrees in the day and 1 billion minus at night. So here's what the sun does for us every day. It shines, it gives us warmth on the Earth, Some of it bounces off the atmosphere, and then once it warms off the Earth, it sort of re-radiates back into the atmosphere. Now, it doesn't re-radiate forever, it stays right about here. And those little bitty molecules of carbon dioxide are holding the heat, which makes life livable. Well, the problem is that the amount of carbon dioxide has doubled since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And you say, well, what do I care? Well, you care because of summer. So we've got the sunlight coming in and then staying sort of trapped in the atmosphere by the level of carbon dioxide. Now, watch this. I started doing these stories and analyzing this back in the 90s. So in 1990, we only had 300 parts per million, okay? You take a million, and only 300 of those were going to be carbon dioxide. Well, since then and today, we're now at 425 parts per million. So it really kicked up. And so we've got all these molecules now holding in the heat. Where does the carbon dioxide come from? Well, yeah, think of the 6 million cars in the Houston area. Think of all the cars in our area. All of them are polluting because they have the exhaust, right? Now we want them to be cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, but they still pollute. And we like energy, we like electricity, I get it. But every time we throw atmospheric carbon dioxide up there, we have more of a problem. So we need to take care of our planet, we need to cut down on emissions, and it's going to be a big challenge, but if we don't, then where are we going to go? Some people say, well, we're going to Mars. Well, I don't know if there's enough ships to take us up there, so let's just fix this planet while we're here. So, sunny skies, hot weather, oppressive heat. Try and stay cool the best you can. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind everybody that we do have this QR code. I'd like for you to scan that and take Crossroads today wherever you need to go. Now it's also back to Karina.
Thank you, Mac. And now let's go to Sports Director Gina Perez.
Thanks, Karina. It's one day until Tapper Scrap 6, and we have the face-offs after the break. Howdy Crossroads, the athlete of the week is training via YouTube videos with the help of his grandparents. Now he's headed to the Junior Olympics. Sports reporter Zach Brown caught up with the young phenom.
Runners, take your mark. Set, go.
Refugio is known for its blazing speed, and now you can name our athlete of the week, Aiden Scott, to that list. The 8-year-old has only been running for a total of 8 weeks. He now qualifies for the Junior Olympics. He gained that inspiration by watching the state champion Bobcats simply out of boredom before coaches let him join practices.
I saw the high schoolers out here running, so I asked the coach if I can start running with them, and I started coming up with I want to start my own track.
He's just got something that is really a gift. And so what better way to keep a kid busy, especially during the summer when there's no school going on, than, hey, put him out on the track for a little while, let him run.
He moves well on the track. He moves a lot more off of it. He lives in a military family with his mother currently stationed overseas, prompting his move from El Paso to Refugio. Through it all, he is still a happy kid working out with his friend Annie nearly every day. Not typical of an 8-year-old kid, but here's why.
The good thing about my grandparents is that they don't have a PlayStation or an Xbox. We're outside.
We don't have electronic babysitters in our house. We get them outside. We do things with them, and that's where this really led to. That's the root cause. He was bored one day, decided he wanted to go watch some kids run, and ended up on the track with them.
His grandmother was also a track star herself, part of the 1985 through 1987 teams. Aiden is hoping to mimic her success. His grandfather jokes, maybe track just runs in the family genes, and says Aiden cares more about hitting PRs than qualifying for the Junior Olympics. He is obsessed with getting better.
I push myself to get better and at the 400 and the 200, and I do strength to get my legs stronger, and I push myself harder to get stronger and better.
Aiden leaves for Des Moines, Iowa at the end of the month, and hopefully he accomplishes his goals. The excitement is building as fighters and fans attended weigh-ins and face-offs today. A total of 24 fighters were in attendance, and each were weighed in and inspected by doctors. The athletes posed for the cameras and mean mugged their opponents.
If you're going to come out, I mean, you're going to see a night full of fireworks. Like I said, these guys have been training for the last 4 months for tomorrow night. It's just fun. It's the atmosphere, the vibe. It's a fun sport.
Tickets are available at the Victoria Community Center tomorrow night. Doors open at 5:30, and the first fights will start at 7 o'clock. Last night, the Generals' 12-game win streak came to an end. Tonight, they take on the Seguin River Monsters, looking to restart that streak yet again. Well, that's your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Gina. We're going to be back in a moment because we're going to show you how El Paso zoo workers are trying to keep animals cool during this heat wave.
And finally tonight, animals also trying to stay cool during this intense heat wave. Zookeepers at the El Paso Zoo had to get creative. They made ice pops for some of the animals, like the tortoises that get frozen berries twice a day, you see there. The mountain lions prefer blood popsicles. That's right, blood popsicles. Most of the exhibits have designated air-conditioned spaces for when the animals need relief. There's also misters, the ones that give out mist, both for the animals who want to be out in the sun and visitors at the zoo. Well, that's a good idea, El Paso. And of course, it's very important on all the zoos right now, all throughout Texas, to make sure those animals are taken care of in this heat.
Now you're going to be visiting the zoo.
I'm telling the Texas Zoo that I'm going to be down there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I hope to find some misters there too. The ones from the sky.
But as for us,
yeah, well, the rest of us, we got to deal with it. It's hot. It's going to be hot. There's really no change. The dome of doom that's on top of us is not going to be moving for quite some time. In fact, someone has also asking me, well, would a hurricane move this? And I said a hurricane would probably be deflected by this, so I don't think even that's going to work. So let's just try and stay cool the best you can.
All right, thanks, Mac. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you back here tonight at 10.